Yesterday, Ariana Huffington mentioned brilliant jerks. Now, most of us know one or two. Some of us know hundreds of these people. Have you ever watched a brilliant jerk suck the intelligence out of a room? Or should I say, how many times have you watched a brilliant jerk suck the intelligence out of the room? Or maybe even how many times last week have you seen this? Now, they're having a great time. They're talking, they're full of energy and ideas, they're playing big. But the problem is other people around them are playing small. Now, I've seen so many of these leaders, I call them diminishers, and I've spent the last 10 years studying these two types of leaders, these diminishers who are smart, but they shut down intelligence and capability in people around them, versus multipliers who use their intelligence in a way that amplifies intelligence and capability and energy in people around them. And not only do they think and act in very different ways, they get very different levels of capability from other people. These diminishers, my research showed, get less than half of the available intelligence of people they work with and people who work for them, whereas the multipliers get virtually all of it. And they create a very different experience. People describe working for these diminishing leaders as frustrating and exhausting. But they describe working for these multiplier leaders as, truth be told, just a little bit exhausting, but totally exhilarating. Totally exhilarating. But then came the plot twist in my research. And if you're a researcher, you know the plot twist. And then for me, it was like that part of a movie where you come to see that maybe the good guys just might be the bad guys. That part. Because I started to see that most of the diminishing that's happening across our companies, across our schools, and in our communities is not coming from the brilliant jerk, the narcissistic, tyrannical kind of bully of a boss. Most of it's being done with the best of intentions. By really good people trying to be good bosses, but yet creating a diminishing experience for people around them. Most are what I call the accidental diminisher. So the question really that we're going to explore is how might we, with the very best of intentions, be actually having a diminishing impact to the people around us. Let me share a few ways that we find this happens often. Is there someone here who's a bit of an idea guy? We love creativity and innovation. We burst with ideas. We show into the office, hey, how about this? What about that? And what if we try this? And what do you think of that? And of course, we intend that our ideas are going to spark other ideas. But what actually happens around the fountain of ideas? What's the experience like for the people around them? Yeah, it's a little more like this, right? Because people are chasing ideas. Okay, she's got me doing this. Now she's got me doing that. And we end up staying put. It is so easy to get idea lazy around someone else who's idea rich. Is there anyone here who is always on? Always contributing, always big, always something to say. And of course you think that your energy is contagious, infectious, like, hey, I'm just getting the party started here. Like I'm whipping up the energy of my organization. What is it like to work for someone who's always on? Yeah, it's like you're killing me with this energy. And what do you do when you see them walking down the hallway towards your office? Yeah, that looks a little bit more like this. Yeah, these are people you don't want to make eye contact with, do you? Because once you activate them, they're like a motion sensing light and you can't figure out how to turn them off. Or what about the rescuer? This is the big-hearted leader who doesn't like to see people struggle or suffer or make mistakes. What's their narrative? What's their experience? What are they telling themselves? I'm helping. I'm saving the day. I'm avoiding like career-limiting moves for other people. They see themselves as a hero. What's it like to be rescued? What does that feel like? Yeah, more like this, sort of helpless and humiliated. What about the pace-setting leader who's leading by example? I'm going to set the pace for like an amazing customer experience. I'm going to set the pace, model the way everyone will notice what I'm doing, and of course, they'll follow, right? What actually happens when the leader gets out ahead of her team by a car length or two? What do other people do? Yeah, they don't speed to catch up. They're holding back. They're watching you do your thing. You know, when we lead by setting the pace for our team, we're more likely to create spectators than followers. They're like, you go. Like, let me know if you need some help. Like, next time you lap me, I'm here. Or what about the rapid responder? This is a person who is on it. I got it. They love speed. They respond quickly to questions and problems and opportunities. Of course, they're thinking they're creating this agile team that can move fast and like hunt and find things. What do you do when a request is sent to you? Like an email note. It's your responsibility, but yet it is copied to that rapid responder. What do you tend to do? What do you say to yourself? Yeah, the response tends to look a little more like this. She's got it. I'll just let her do her thing. Heaven forbid we get out of sync. What about the optimist? This is like positive can-do leaders. I struggle with this one. Of course, we see possibilities. We see victories for our team. What do we overlook? See, we tend to overlook the struggle, the battle. See, when leaders only see the upside, they relegate their team to obsess over the downside. It's a very different experience for them. Maybe you're just a little bit of a protector, keeping your people out of danger, keeping them from sort of the dangers of corporate politics, the mean people out there in the world. Maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Let me take this meeting. It might be contentious. Oh, you don't want to present in front of him. Like he'll knock your knees out. And maybe we become like a banyan tree to our team. We provide comfort and shade, but what's the problem is that nothing really grows under a banyan tree. People experience stagnation under these kinds of leaders. Maybe you're a strategist, a big thinker, a visionary, and you paint such a compelling vision that no one else has to do the thinking. And the big picture is so clear to you, but what you just can't figure out is why everyone else is working in silos. Why this is the experience of other people. Or maybe you're a bit of a perfectionist. Now, I didn't have to describe this because you know who you are, right? And you love the A grade. It is a beautiful experience for you to just get it exactly, perfectly right. Like it feels good. What does it feel like for the people who work for the perfectionist? What's their experience like? It looks more like this, doesn't it? Yeah, they see blood and loss. And they experience that feeling that nothing that they do is good enough. Nothing they do is good enough. Now, having some of these tendencies does not make you a diminisher. It means that you're vulnerable. That you're vulnerable to having a diminishing impact. But what I can promise you is that if you have some of these accidental diminisher tendencies and are having a diminishing impact, you will be the last to know. Your team knows all about this. They talk about it. They have meetings about this, that you are not invited to these meetings. Some of the people around you are in therapy just for this. See, but why don't we see it? See, we don't see it because human nature is such that we tend to judge ourselves by our good intentions. But we tend to judge others based on their actions. So how do you close this gap? How do you close the gap between your intention and your impact on others? How do you close the gap between the manager or the leader's experience and the employee's experience? I'm going to offer 3 practices that help bring these two experiences together. The first is what I call give the pen back. Now, the very best leaders or good leaders put other people in charge. But the very best leaders, They keep other people in charge, even when things aren't going so well. Jay Choi was the managing director for McKinsey in Seoul, Korea, and he is in a conference room. It's 2 a.m., and he's there with the project team. They are working on a pitch for their most important client. They have to give that pitch tomorrow. Now, the reason why they're there at 2 a.m. is because it's not going really well. The team's been working hard, but they can't quite pull all this data and get it to insight. And the project leader is up at the board trying to lead this team into a compelling pitch. The project leader is up at the board working on this. In exasperation, they turn to Jay, who's the executive sponsor. He's been in the back of the room listening. And the project leader says, "Hey, Jay, do you have any insight? Like, can you help?" And hands Jay the pen. Jay takes the pen, he comes to the board. Now he can see this so clearly. And he comes to the board and he starts mapping out all the messaging. Okay, here's the data, here's sort of some insights, here's the implication. He's storyboarding this out, and you can imagine it feels pretty good for him. But it feels even better for the team at the time, right? It's 2 a.m., their pitch is tomorrow. But as he's up at the board, the multiplier mentality in him, it just signaled restraint, and he stopped right where he was, and he said, "Here are a few ideas to get you started. Why don't you take it from there?" And he hands the pen back to the project leader, and he sits down. He said to me, he goes, "Liz, when your people are struggling, it's irresponsible not to help, but you've got to learn to hand the pen back." And of course, the pen represents ownership, accountability. Put other people in charge and give them the experience of crossing the finish line. Second, offer bigger challenges. There are too many leaders who are really busy, but the people around them are bored. See, the leader is stretched thin, but other people sit underutilized. Instead of giving people more work, which is just exhausting, try giving people harder work, which is exhilarating. Work that really stretches them. Now, I brought my big green rubber band, and I'm going to ask Luis Miranda, father of Lynn Manuel, to come out and help me with this. He said he likes breaking things, so I thought he would be the very perfect person for this job. Okay. Oh, wow, and very beautiful. Luis, thank you. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I ask you to be the challenger in this case, sort of a challenging but yet humane leader. And first of all, this is not a magic rubber band. Okay, so this could end. It could end badly. The glasses might be helpful for you, or me. I realize. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to stretch it as tight as you possibly can without breaking it, and then hold it there, as tight as it can go without breaking it. He might need some encouragement. As tight as you can go. Now, we'll know we're there when I'm off balance, when I'm uncomfortable. See, I'm good right now. I can hang out here for actually a while. We're almost there. Okay, we're there. Okay, now, if Luis just holds this, what are my options? See, I'm now stretched, doing things I've maybe never done before, which gives me the options of either I let go or I move toward him, which means solving the problem, getting it done, growing from the experience. Luis, thank you. Sure. Thank you. We find that people do their very best work when they're stretched and uncomfortable and off balance. Maybe instead of taking all of the challenge and stretch yourself, maybe you give it to your team and you just hold that position and allow people to have a different experience, a more challenging, but yet a more exhilarating and fun and satisfying work experience. Lastly, ask better questions. We find the best leaders, they tell less and they ask more. They ask questions that spark learning. They ask questions that inspire action and accountability. Some of you might want to take what I call the extreme question challenge. I took this challenge about 15 years ago. I am a mother of 4. Back then, it was just a mere 3. And I'm struggling because I feel like I'm constantly telling my kids what to do. I tell a friend at work, I said, I feel like I'm constantly dictating. I become a bossy mom. And he didn't really believe me. He says, Liz, you don't seem bossy. I said, let me explain bedtime at my house. This is how it rolls. Is there anyone here who has the 642 combo pack at your house? See, if you do, you know how bedtime goes, right? In a word, it's total chaos. And so I explained it to him, trying to educate him just a little bit. I said, this is how it goes. Kids, time for bed, leave her alone, put that away, go brush your teeth, go back, use toothpaste. Okay, story time, get a book, not 5 books, 1 book. Give me 1 book. No big books, no long books, low word count books, preferably like this big with thick cardboard pages. That's it, good night, moon, done, story time, say your prayers, into bed, out of her bed, not in my bed, back to bed. No yelling in any of this. It's just constant telling. So he offers me some coaching. Now, mind you, I wasn't looking for coaching. This was recreational complaining. I was looking for sympathy, actually, but yet he offered me a challenge. He said, why don't you go home and just ask your kids questions? I decided to take the challenge. And when it got to bedtime, I committed to nothing but questions, and bedtime went like this. Hey, kids, what time is it? They're like, bedtime. See, they knew. The 6-year-old had a lot of data points that said when it's dark, we go to bed. And they were on to me. And then it was questions like, okay, where does that go? Who needs help with getting their pajamas on? Who's going to be first to brush their teeth? What story are we reading? Whose turn is it to pick the story? Who's going to read the story? What do we do after story time? And then the final question was, who's ready for bed? And they get in their beds, they stay in their beds. I'm left simply to wonder, how long have they known how to do this? But I realized that when I asked a question, they took ownership. They found answers. And that my team at work, they didn't need me telling them what to do. They needed me to ask an intelligent question. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting you do this all the time. Okay, that's super creepy. But what I do is I save it for special occasions. When something has gone very, very wrong, maybe at work or sometimes at home, and when something's gone very right. Now, fast forward 17 years, that little 2-year-old is 19. He's on a gap year before college, and he's out having the most amazing, Alex Honnold-like adventures. And while he's out climbing mountains and free soloing up cliffs, he's reading. He's reading, not comic books, but big books, on his own volition. And he'll go off into the woods, come back hours, sometimes days later, just brimming with excitement for what he's been reading, these great works of literature. And he stops by my office, which I love, and he's just so excited. His eyes are sparkling. And as a writer, you can imagine how thrilled I am. I love discovery, and there's something when I see people excited and discovering something new, insights activate me. So what do you think I do when he's brimming with excitement? I think I can best capture the dynamic with this video. A daughter and her mom.
Yeah.
You'll know which one was me, metaphorically.
Cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle.
Okay, this would be me in this metaphor.
Just fall off. But I still wake up. I still see your ghost. Oh Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for.
Oh, it gets worse.
What do I stand for? What do I stand for? But most nights.
Okay, she calms down for a moment.
Anymore.
And then she comes in big. Yeah. So what do I do when he mentions he's like Red Walden? Oh, I pile on my insights because I want to be part of that party. I'm like, oh, I love Thoreau. I love this idea of living deliberately. And did you notice how the way the book was written was almost like a journal? It's just like almost stream of consciousness and it's emblematic of the discovery. Well, what do you think he then does? Well, he stops by my office a lot less often. And I'm not part of that experience. So I decided that when I saw his excitement, when something good was happening, I would stop, I would listen, I would ask questions about his literature. I can't wait for him to discover Hamilton. Because instead of being like, oh yeah, love it, saw it 3 times, saw one of the final performances of Lin-Manuel Miranda, like totally in the room where that happened, I'm going to play this so cool. So cool. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I heard it got good reviews. What do you think? It is so easy to be pulled in to the role of being the genius, playing big so that others can play small. There was an all-star basketball player who grappled with this tension as a young man. In high school, he was this phenomenal athlete. His coach said to him, every time you get the ball, I want you to take the shot. So he did. And he scored a lot of points, and they won a lot of games. The coach loved it. The kids loved it. But he noticed the parents were having a different experience. They, of course, came to the game to watch their kids play, and what did they get to see? The superstar. So he made a decision that he would use his God-given talent to help everyone around him be a better player. And it was this orientation that earned him the nickname of Magic. This Michigan sports writer said he raised the level of play of every team he ever played on. If you want to create experiences where everyone plays big, everyone's at their best, don't just be the genius, be the genius maker. Create experiences that are just a little bit exhausting but totally exhilarating, because don't we all want to be part of that experience? Thank you.